Hey, honey,
Yes, Barry?
let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin mi naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I'm your host, Barry Kessler. I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. I hope it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. That music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and Alberto is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants. Those are the Le Bistro Jazz Cafe, Riverside on the Isla Quale, and the Lapa Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos Beach. And then there's the El Dorado Restaurant and Beach Club right next door, so you can enjoy that fantastic view of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors, or during the day in its grand splendor for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, seated with your toes in the sand at the water's edge, or Riverside at Le Bistro. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week we are going to meet a very special person who, through her time and efforts, has over the last 17 years or so been responsible for bringing millions of dollars worth of firefighting gear from Canada into Puerto Vallarta and other parts of Mexico. Her name is Christina Callahan, and her organization is called Angels for Mexico. You're going to love her story. Speaking of fires, we're going to have Jimmy Pluff. He's going to be talking about the fire that was down in Mito just recently. And also we're going to hear from Kim Bix from Gringo for Gringo. Kim's going to fill us in on the current requirements for those of us who are looking to get their Mexican visas, either their temporal or their permanente in Mexico. As a matter of fact, we'll be talking today about our move, my wife and my move over to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. We have Vallarta news and more, so let's get right to it. Let's see what's happening in Puerto Vallarta the 24th of March, 2025. I've been getting a lot of mail about the new entry fees coming into Mexico and Puerto Vallarta, especially, of course. It's confusing for sure. Here's an article from the Banderas News dated a month ago. That's February 14th, 2025. Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco, Mexico. Puerto Vallarta is set to enhance its tourism infrastructure. We talked about this earlier, with a new contribution approved by the Jalisco Congress, with 32 votes in favor, 2 against, and 1 abstention. Legislators approved a reform to the 2025 income law of the Puerto Vallarta City Council, introducing a 141 peso charge for foreign visitors. That's approximately $7 US. This contribution, proposed by Mayor Luis Ernesto Munguia and his team, aims to generate additional revenues to support tourism, development, and upgrade the city's infrastructure. The measure was discussed with tourism authorities and legislators before gaining approval, ensuring it aligns with city's growth plans. The fee will be valid for 365 days, allowing multiple visits within the year. Collection points will be conveniently located at both the airport and maritime terminal, simplifying the process for visitors. Exemptions apply to foreign minors under 14, individuals with disabilities, tourist guides, tour operators, airline and cruise ship personnel, and other tourism sector workers. Collection modules could begin operating as early as March, with an estimated revenue of over 200 million pesos in the first year. These funds will be directed to a dedicated trust specifically designed to finance infrastructure projects. Key areas for improvement include the tourist strip, the Malecon, and beach areas. Mayor Munguia reaffirmed his administration's commitment to improving Puerto Vallarta through street upgrades, development of key areas, service enhancements, and community investment. This new funding approach will support long-term growth, benefiting both residents and the city's tourism sector. However, there is an update to that article, and the update reads, according to information provided by the Puerto Vallarta municipal government, the collection of this tax will be voluntary and will be carried out in modules located at the airport at the API, Integrated Port Administration. In addition, work is being done on developing a mobile application that will facilitate the payment process. It is important to note that the new tax will not apply to foreign residents in the city or to those who pay taxes through mechanisms such as property tax or businesses operating licenses, thus ensuring that the tax is completely voluntary and respecting the free movement of visitors. And I have a link to that article from the Banderas News in the show notes. You can find it in www.PuertoVallartaTravelShow.com. Now, interestingly enough, the term ensuring that the tax is completely voluntary and respecting the free movement of visitors actually comes from a law in the Mexican Constitution. It's Article 117, Section 5, and it states, under no circumstances can states tax the free transit of people or things that cross its territory. So they had to back off a little bit and make that tax voluntary, actually, rather than change the Mexican Constitution. So very interesting. Now, in an article in Mexico News Daily, they write, currently, each foreign tourist entering Mexico pays a fee of 717 pesos, or about $35 U.S., to transit or remain in the country for up to 180 days without permission to engage in paid activities. This fee, dubbed non-resident tax or DNR, can only be collected by the federal government. It continues until 2023. The federal tax law, the LFD, allowed 20% of the amount collected by the DNR to be allocated to the National Migration Institute to provide migration services. The remaining 80% was allocated to the country's planning studies, infrastructure, and tourism projects. And since 2020, the funds collected from the DNR have been allocated to infrastructure works by the Army, such as the Tren Maya. The new LFD also requires every cruise ship passenger docking at Mexico's ports to pay, according to them, $42 U.S. Passenger fee starting July 1st. So the DNR didn't previously apply to cruise ship passengers. It continues, stopping in Mexican ports as they would. On average, they stay in the country for less than 8 hours, it says here. But it does say that, hey, they're planning on starting this July the 1st. Very interesting. Anyway, that article from Mexico News Daily, where they lifted their information from El Informador and Crónicas Jalisco. That link is in the show notes. Now, the DNR, that 717 pesos, or approximately $35 U.S., is currently collected by your airline and is usually just part of the price that you pay when you buy your ticket, evidently. But the cruise ship passengers are going to get here, and after July 1st, they're going to get hit with a new $42 U.S. passenger fee, it seems. I guess it's not part of the price of the passage when you board that ship. It's going to be very tricky, I guess. We will see. So that's what I have for you guys on the new entry fees for Mexico travel. And I'll keep you posted as time goes by. That port fee issue is not going away anytime soon. We'll be hearing about that. Now, our last episode, I talked about water shortages in Puerto Vallarta and how we all need to conserve water when you're staying in Vallarta. I also talked about a fire that was burning up in Mascota at the time, and also about how dry it's been. So anyway, last week, fires broke out down in Cabo Corrientes, like between El Tuito and Maito. And our friend Jimmy Pluff from Vallarta Cares, he was down there with his mobile tank. He's got this big mobile tank that he hooks up to the back of his truck, and he can take it places. And he did. He took his pickup truck, and he went to go fight fires. And I caught up with Jimmy to find out what exactly happened down there and how we could maybe help some of those folks that were affected by the fire. So let's go right now to the offices of Vallarta Cares over in Colonia Lopez Mateos. Let's talk with Jimmy Pluff from Vallarta Cares in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Jimmy, thanks for coming back on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us about the fire. Where did it start?
Well, we're not really sure where the Tlapuyeki fire started. Well, I'm not anyway. I didn't hear anything about that. But the Santa Cruz fire started in a farmer's field that he was burning off in a burn ban time. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they penalize here for that. Like in the States, you get in a bunch of trouble for that. Like you go to jail. I don't know if anything happened to him, but his neighbors might beat him up,
Right.
which would be probably great.
Okay. So where did the fire spread to? Tell us how that all went.
Without a map, it's kind of hard to explain if you don't know any of these places or if you're not kind of familiar with them. Santa Cruz and Santa Cruz are past El Tuito about 30 minutes on the highway on the 200. And then Tlapuyeki, it's if you drew a line from El Tuito to Maito, it's kind of halfway down that line and to one side. It's a little dot. I mean, it's not a very big town, but if you've ever had really, really good cheese, it probably came from one of those cows.
Oh, wow.
It's a little dairy town, Tlapuyeki. Hard to say.
Yeah, it is.
It's also hard to spell.
Right.
I don't know who named it.
Oh, well, all right. So what was affected mostly by the fires there?
Lots of things were affected. I mean, the fire in Paulo, Santa Cruz was on both sides of the highway. And it was up and down the highway. And if you know anything about our wind here, our wind goes in part of the day away from the ocean. And then the other part of the day, it goes the opposite direction, which makes it really easy for a fire to spread.
Yeah. And dangerous for firefighters.
And especially in that area, since it's been very cold at night, that helps to calm the fire down a little bit. But then in the daytime, it gets hot. So at night, it calms down. In the daytime, it gets more excited, which kind of stinks because it's hot during the day and you're fighting something that's already hot.
Yeah.
If you fight it at night, at least it's warm,
Right.
But so that one was on both sides of the highway. The one over in Tlapuyeki, that one got up on top of a mountain and then threw sparks and started the top of a different mountain and then went down that mountain, started a valley. The wind in the valley spread it another direction, and it was like, this one had a personality. It was freaking wild. It was wildfire. Duh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So they have about, in total, 3,000 hectares that are affected and burned. Maybe a little more. I didn't see the last report that said exactly how much was affected. The biggest effect that I saw was a lot of pasture was affected. Like cattle grazing, livestock grazing. A lot of the farmers had to move their livestock onto rented land because there is no longer grass on their land for cows to eat. I don't know if you know this, but in the dry season, normally what they do is they stash back a little bit of feed or silage for the cows. because sometimes stuff like this happens on a very small scale, which is not a big deal normally, because right before rainy season, they typically do burn their fields. And that helps the grass grow back stronger and whatnot. But they usually wait till there's been about 3 good rains before they do it.
Yeah.
So that way everything else doesn't burn. At one point, this fire got very close to the town of Palo. I heard that 4 houses were destroyed. I don't know that for a fact. I didn't go out to that part of the fire. I mainly stayed around Tlapuyeki and Bioto and some of those. If some of your folks are familiar, that area between Tlapuyeki, Bioto, Llano Grande, and Villa del Mar. Like Llano Grande is on the way to Mato. So it's that little town that you pass through. So in that little town, you know how you take that hard right and then another hard left and continue on to Mato, Tewa, whatever. Well, instead of doing that, you just go straight down that little dirt road, and that runs you right into Tlapuyeki. Before that point, there's a little bread stand on the left side of the highway that's made out of wood. And right next to that is a little dirt road and a sign that says Bioto. That's how you get to Bioto. Now, all those towns are connected by little bitty, tiny, teeny, itty bitty little roads that are just wide enough for a Nissan Frontier. Maybe a Nissan Frontier and a horse in some cases.
Yeah.
And they're pretty dramatic because they go up and down mountains, and there's some wild drop-offs, and they're not always in great shape.
Right.
So it can be dangerous, especially during the rainy season. It is 4x4 territory.
Right. Now you hook up your tank on the back of your back of your truck.
Yeah, our water trailer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we use to go combat the fires with my little 3,000 liter water trailer.
Yeah, crazy, huh?
What is that? Like 800 and something gallons ish. So it's not a whole lot of water, but when it's full, it's about 3 metric tons. So it's heavy.
Yeah.
But it's a lot lighter than the 8,000 liter or 10,000 liter water truck that the state civil protection has. It's also much lighter than the ginormous fire truck that somebody gave to Cabo Corrientes. It can't even cross certain bridges in their own municipality because it's so heavy.
Wow.
I think it's 18 tons.
Unbelievable.
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but it's 18 or 20 metric tons. So their bridges are, some of the bridges are homemade, so they're rated for a lot less than that. So you could go across it, but you might also fall down a ravine. So they generally don't.
Yeah, shied away from that.
I wouldn't advise it.
No.
I've got a really neat video of it being stuck in a river and me pulling it out.
Oh, all right.
Because they thought they were going to go put it in a river and suck water out of the river like me. Only I'm that cool.
Right. Well, you're very mobile with your mobile tank for sure.
That's where we set ourselves apart. We're highly mobile. We can get down those little goat trails and get in front of the fire, and we do some shady stuff. My wife's not going to like hearing that.
No, probably not.
No.
Well, tell her not to listen. So,
yeah. You didn't hear that, Frankie.
No, she did not. So, tell us what is needed. What do people need right now?
People need help, and that comes in a lot of different forms. Like in Tlapuyeki, they lost a lot of pasture, so they're either going to have to. And they've already had a hard 3 years since Lydia, because that blew over a lot of the trees and it blew over a lot of their silage and their crops. They lost their crops after Lydia. With the wind busted it all up and screwed stuff up and flooded areas. And so I didn't know that too much water could kill plants, but apparently it does.
It does.
And then we followed that with 2 of the driest years that have ever happened here. We got half the rain this past rainy season that we had the year before, and that was half the rain that's normal.
Yeah.
So, it's extremely dry. It got dry real quick this year, like earlier than I've ever seen. And so it's extremely dry down there. Throwing your cigarette out the window could start a very dangerous fire. Please don't.
Yeah. Avoid that. So what kind of, has there been like some sort of fun setup for them?
We are gonna probably just take in monetary donations at this point, because the things we're gonna have to do to kind of help those folks are not what we typically do. Normally, we'd load up dispensas and bring those out after a disaster because people need to eat. Those folks can eat if we help them get back to where they were. They grow their own vegetables and corn and stuff like that. And they have cows, which are dairy cows. So normally they would have milk. And they have chickens and they have eggs. And so there's stuff there. But the problem is now the livestock doesn't have anything to eat because all that silage burnt off. So I've talked to some cattlemen friends, and they have suggested that I get down there as quickly as possible with my water trailer and help them truck water to those pastures and water them with a big, giant sprinkler. Apparently, they make a sprinkler that you feed with a 2-inch water line.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've seen them. They're those big. I mean, it's just like the little ones that you have at home.
Yeah.
But they're huge, and they get up on a big tripod, so they'll throw water 40, 50 meters. So that's kind of an idea I'm dancing with, because I don't know how I'd make that work. That takes a lot of money. So, yeah, we're looking at doing that, and we're looking at trying to, help them out with some supplements that you get for cows to kind of help them fatten up and give them some of the stuff that they need that they're not going to get because they're not eating the same pasture that they're used to eating. And there's also a lot of the rivers are dry down there that they would normally use to go, hang out and drink water from. Yeah. So they are watering their cows as best they can. They bring, right now, they're riding out every day, bringing them into town, watering them at home, and then putting them back in the pasture. But now that the pasture's burnt, I don't know what they're going to do.
Very interesting.
So we're looking at some different solutions. I mean, this is way out of my wheelhouse. So I've called people that have cattle and raise cattle and know things about cattle more than me. I know that they give us milk and they give us hamburgers, which is fantastic. But beyond that, and that they have 4 stomachs. Other than that, I'm kind of I'm outside of my wheelhouse. So I talked to some people, and we're doing research to try and figure out what we can do to get them. I mean, they were looking pretty skinny. So, yeah. And then I talked to the ranchers, and they said in about 2 weeks, they're going to be really hurting because they have silage stored. They have some kind of bodega that they store it in, but in about 2 weeks, they'll be out.
Right.
So then they have to start buying it or trucking it in. Georgia DeShore has offered to do a little fundraiser for us to help with that situation.
And she's from Casa Karma, everybody.
And I don't know where that's going to be at. Frankie and her have been putting that together. So something will be on the Facebooks about it. And then, so I don't know if you saw the post I made not too long ago about the school in Agua Caliente, which is also near Tlapuyeki.
Okay, yes, I did see that.
Tlapuyeki also has a very bad school, which is on my list of things to get to. I just haven't. We're kind of hurting for money, so it's we're sticking with kind of the base programs and trying to raise money. And when we have time and money, we go do that stuff.
Very good.
But if you want to donate some money towards the fire relief, you can donate via our website and just send us a little note through Facebook, because that's the easiest way, and let us know that it was you and that you sent this much money for that specific thing. That way they can set it aside. I don't know that we'll do a special donation page just for that. That, I don't know, it just depends on where we end up and what we see.
All right. Well, I'll keep an eye out for that, of course. And when I do see that, I'll let everybody know. Jimmy, thanks for what you do. Thanks for rolling out there and putting out fires.
Just try and stop me. My wife would love you too.
Thank you again. Thanks so much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jimmy. I have links to the Vallarta Cares donation page. You'll find them in the show notes. Remember, when you do, or if you do, send a donation for fire relief, mark it specifically for fire relief for Mito. We were down in Mito a couple weeks ago. It was a quick trip, and I actually had a chance to talk with Raul from the Hotel Mito about some really cool changes that they're making at the hotel and at the restaurant. I also have some observations to add about that trip, but I'm going to save both of those things actually for next show. So stay tuned for that. It was dry. I noticed how dry it was as we were going from El Tuito to Mito. The next big celebrations in Puerto Vallarta are going to be Easter. Semana Santa this year falls April 13th. It goes April 13th to the 20th, and we're going to talk more about that soon. Now, for other upcoming events, I need to tell you there's a great calendar. It's the Vallarta calendar. Just go to vallartacalendar.com. That's Marcia Blondin's baby, actually. She is the editor and janitor and dishwasher over at the Vallarta Mirror. You've heard her on the show before. And the calendar is just fantastic. If you can actually add events to the calendar, if you want to, too. It's really a great tool. And I'll link that up in the show notes. Again, that's vallartacalendar.com. Check that out. All right, let's finally get to the rest of the story about Debbie and my epic move from Simi Valley, California to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. What we had to do, all the planning that went into preparing for our appointment, for our Mexican visas, for our temporary residency, and then the preparations for the sale of our home in Southern California, the move itself, and then actually going back to the States to sit for our immigration appointment at the Mexican consulate in Phoenix, Arizona, where we were actually, I will tell you that we were relieved, as you already know, and we were grateful to finally be granted our visas as temporary residents of Mexico. So Debbie and I decided to move to Puerto Vallarta in early November of 2023. And what that meant was that we needed to plan for our Mexican residency first, because you can't stay in Mexico legally, past 6 months at least. That's the law now, per 12-month period. So we reached out to Kim and Dave Bix over at Gringo for Gringo. It's Green Go, like green card, like green go. And then for Gringo, like, Gringo. I've had Kim on the show before, and I asked her for advice at the time when we were thinking about moving, what we needed to do, the steps we needed to take to get going. And after going through some options, we determined that the only way that Debbie and I could qualify would be to each put a lump sum of money into a savings account and then let it sit there, season it, they call it, for a year as required by the Mexican government. Yeah, that's because, being real estate agents like me and Debbie, we don't get regular checks, regular people get regular checks, like every Friday or, twice a month, whatever. But we, as realtors, we work as independent contractors. We don't earn any money unless we sell a house. And even if you make $250,000 or $500,000 a year, the Mexican government doesn't care, because you can't show that big, steady check that's coming in. They want to see that. They want to see it coming in, this income stream coming in every month. And so the other option is to have a big savings account. So that's why Debbie and I opted to go for a lump sum amount. Now, our plan was to be in Puerto Vallarta by September of 2024. So we made a leap of faith, and we put that lump sum away in November of 2023. And then we made an appointment at a Mexican consulate was in Phoenix. And then the plan was to get our house ready to sell everything, including most of our belongings, including our cars, everything. And then being homeless, the plan was to move to Puerto Vallarta and then return in November to the United States. By that time, our money would have seasoned for a year. And then we are going to meet with the employee over at the Mexican consulate and hopefully qualify for either a temporary or permanent visa in Mexico. As I said, it was a total leap of faith. And so the choice of consulate was, well, at the time, it wasn't an issue. We could choose whether we wanted to use the nearest consulate to our house. And in our case, that would have been either Oxnard, California, or downtown Los Angeles. Or according to Kim, we could choose, in some cases, another state. Now, at the time, a couple of consulates had on their websites different amounts listed as to what was required for, the minimum that you needed to season in that year for an account. In fact, Kim pointed out to us that the Mexican consulate in Phoenix, Arizona, only required that we season something like $43,000, something like that, for a year. So anyway, as I said, we went with a lump sum, and we seasoned the money in the bank for a year. Now, currently, the requirement is $72,1544 U.S. per person. But when we first put the money in the bank in November of 2023, the requirement, like I said, was somewhere around $43,000 per person at the consulate in Phoenix. Seasoning the money in the bank for a year. And of course, those lump sum figures, they're based on the minimum wage in Mexico. And when AMLO was running for president of Mexico, he promised, and he came through with this promise, to raise the minimum wage. In fact, during his presidency, the minimum wage increased from 88 pesos a day, that would be in 2018, or $5.20 U.S. per day, to 289 pesos, or $14.70 a day U.S. In 2024. So the requirements kept going up as the minimum wage increases. So knowing that things would most likely change over that year, Debbie and I both thought we could outsmart them. We put away way more money than we needed, right? And so we each deposited $70,000 into 2 CDs at our banks. Yeah, I'll get to that in just a few minutes. But there's other requirements that you need when you show up for your appointment. And you have to show them your income, or you have to show them your bank statements. They want your original passport, valid for at least 6 months. And they want to make sure that you have at least 2 blank pages in your passport. They charge a $53 US dollar fee, payable in cash or by card, except for American Express. Who uses American Express anymore? They want a passport photo, frontal view, in color, white background, no glasses. They have an application form that they want you to fill out. They want you to make copies of your passport pages. So your first pages with stamps and visas and barcode and stuff like that. And then your last page. They want proof of legal status in the United States if you're not a U.S. citizen. And if you have property in Mexico, they want to see the deed. They want to see purchase or lease agreement, for example. And that's not a bad idea to have it if you have a place that you're going to be living in Mexico, to have a lease agreement in hand. If they go, hey, where are you going to be living? It's best that you kind of tell them where you're going to be living. Give them an address. Retirees, they want to see Social Security letters and copies and stuff. And of course, like I said, they want to see those bank statements. And they want also a letter from your banker stating sole ownership of the account. my bank would not do that. So what we did was we typed up a special letter, basically swearing that this was our bank account, and we took it to our notary that we use all the time in the real estate business. And we asked her to type up the letter, and she did, and she notarized it, and we signed it, and it worked. Evidently, that was sufficient. But yeah, they wanted a letter from the bank. Our bank wouldn't do it. They wanted for joint accounts. They want a copy of marriage certificates. Individual accounts. They just want to make sure that every individual applicant presents their own income. And from November of 2023 on, Debbie and I, while we worked full-time selling homes in Los Angeles, spent the rest of our time making home improvements, painting, caulking, touching up every little blemish. We put a new carpeting, a new flooring, and we scraped our acoustic ceilings. Do you remember acoustic ceilings? Mm-hmm. Yep, we had a few of those. We put in a new HVAC system, which is heating and air conditioning. If you don't know what that is, lingo for. We did a ton of work on a yard, outside of our house. We have a big pool and spa, including, we did like demolition of the old pool and spa coping, which is the pool's edge. It's like the lip of the pool. That's known as the coping. And over the years, we've had that pool for 23 years. It's just started falling apart and cracking, and we knew we couldn't sell that house without taking a big loss if we didn't fix that. So we spent months demolishing and cutting and replacing the coping on that, not a small pool. It was 40 by 15 foot pool with a spa. Debbie and I did that all by ourselves. It was brutal, especially during last summer. The heat last summer was amazing, pretty intense. But the end result looked really great. And I actually put a couple of pictures in the show notes. So you can take a look at that, see what that looked like. Oh, and on top of that, if you remember, I had that little hernia surgery that I had to undergo, and then I had to recover for that in the process. It was a wild time, but got it all done. Got everything done in time to put the house on the market by the second week actually, of July. Now, we determined that if we priced our home correctly, we could probably sell the house in 60 days. We'd give the home about 30 days to get into escrow, another 30 days to close escrow. So now our real estate office where we work, agents aren't allowed to list their own houses. There's legal issues involved with selling your own house. Conflicts of interest and, unnecessary company exposure to those said legal issues, etc. So luckily for us, my wife's sister, my sister-in-law, and her husband are both top producing agents with another office in our brokerage. So they actually handled the sale of our home, which made it really easy, really handy. And the house, like I said, went on the market the second week of July. And we were in a 30-day escrow within 2 weeks with a nice young family. We were pretty confident that they liked the house enough and they were financially qualified enough to follow through and make the purchase and stick with that escrow. So it happened at the end of August. That's what exactly happened. The stars and the planets all aligned. And sure enough, we emptied the house. We sold stuff. We donated tons of stuff. We gave away everything that was left to friends and neighbors and family. And we sold our cars one day. And then the next day, escrow closed and we handed our keys over to the new owners. Threw our luggage into the back of our son's truck, and he drove us to a hotel near the Los Angeles International Airport, LAX, where we boarded a plane the next morning on a one-way ticket to Puerto Vallarta, where we checked into our Airbnb a day earlier than we had planned. Months before that, it's pretty amazing. It was actually a miracle. And then about 2 months later, our funds that we had put away finally had seasoned for a year. So that was the end of November. And we flew back to California to pick up a couple more suitcases of our belongings from my twin brother's house. He and his wife also live in Simi Valley, where we used to live. And we celebrated an early Thanksgiving with them, and our kids, and some friends, and took time to stop and visit with Debbie's 90-year-old mom, who lives in an elder care facility. And we stopped and saw my 94-year-old dad, who also lives in a care home. Both of them, my dad and her mom, live in the San Fernando Valley, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a suburb of Los Angeles, got a population of somewhere near 2 million people. And that's where me and Debbie actually grew up. It's not far at all from Simi Valley. People don't move far from where they were born, I guess, until now, I guess. But anyway, we did, like I said, we did some visiting. We got our paperwork and our bank statements in order before flying off to Phoenix, Arizona for our appointment for our Mexican visas. Now, luckily for us, I've got another brother, and he's an older brother. His name's Ken, and his wife's Becky. They live in Sun City, Arizona, which is only about 40-minute drive from the Phoenix consulate. So we were treated to yet another pre-Thanksgiving turkey dinner. We had so much turkey while we were gone. Ken did a great job on that. We drove then our rental car the next morning to our appointment that we made a year earlier over at the consulate. At 10 in the morning in Phoenix for our visas. Now, back in July, actually, before we put the house on the market, it was that time that I thought, maybe we better make sure that we actually have an appointment at the Mexican consulate in Phoenix, because it was a year ago that we made that appointment. We want to find out whether it was still on the books. So I sent an email, and then I received an auto response, which rattled my bones. It read, "We'll respond to you soon." And then in red, it said, "Please note that updated economic solvency requirements for 2024, where the new requirement to season funds for 12 months increased from that $42,164 each applicant to $72,015.44 each." So started to get a little worried. So, we thought maybe we were being smart, right? We were smart. We put $70,000 in last November thinking that would be just fine, right? So I responded to her, and I wrote back that we currently have enough to satisfy the requirements, but that when we opened our two money market accounts in November of 2023, the opening balance was just at $70,000 each. And currently, I noted here that each money market account has $72,600 in it after interest earned. But as I wrote, our starting balance was just $70,000 each. So my question to you is, will that be okay? Then I pointed out, of course, that we had other accounts that, had other funds that we could show her as well. And then I pressed send, and I held my breath to see what the response would be, because, wow, we did a lot of planning. We did a whole lot of stuff for this. And next day I got an email back. She says, "Nope, no problem. Just bring the other proof of funds with you and so that I can look at them." And that was fine. And that was the biggest scare that we had. And we were nervous. Driving into there, what was going to happen. But we had everything in order. We had everything. We were pretty confident that we'd be approved. Now, the lady's name at the consulate was Andrea, and she's the same lady who was responding to all my inquiries, and who actually I made the appointment with a year before. And, she was much younger than I thought she'd be. She was very pretty. She spoke excellent English. And she asked to see our applications and our bank statements. And she asked if we planned to work in Mexico, and we said no, and that we planned to retire in Mexico. She asked us why we wanted to live in Mexico. I told her that when I was in college, I had an opportunity to come to Mexico City as a student and for 6 weeks be immersed in Spanish for a semester's credit. And while I was there, I just fell in love with the people and the food and the culture and the history. And I told myself that one day I wanted to retire in Mexico. And she seemed pretty happy with that answer. She asked for our passports. She took our fingerprints, our pictures. Then she told us to come back after 3 p.m, and our visas would be ready for us. That was pretty exciting. Then she sent us down the hall to pay $53 in cash each, which we had in exact change, as it was suggested to us, and we did. And then we both excitedly walked out the doors with big smiles on our faces. Grabbed a quick lunch, and we drove up about 35 minutes from the consulate. We went over to visit a couple that you've actually heard on the show, Mitch and Donna Lee. If you remember them, Mitch told us a story about how he replaced his lost passport in Puerto Vallarta, if you remember that. And Donna Lee, she was a masseuse, and wow. Anyway, they happened to be staying at an RV park, really not far from where we were. So we swung by to have a celebratory shot of tequila and have a quick chat before heading back to the consulate, where we returned to Andrea's office, and she had our visas pasted into each of our passports, and we did it. We even took pictures out in front of the consulate with our big smiles on our faces. I'll have those in the show notes. And boy, were we relieved. We were so relieved to have gotten all of that done in one day, actually, because we had a hotel near the airport reserved, and a 1:00 flight to catch the next day to Puerto Vallarta. So everything worked just like it was supposed to. Just like clockwork, thank goodness. And anyway, upon arriving in Vallarta, we checked in through the line for Mexican nationals and residents, and we told the lady that we were in proceso de canje, the canje process, and she stamped my visa and marked it canje, and same with Debbie. And now we were ready for Kim to do her magic. We let her know we made it. She set up an appointment at the immigration office near Puerto Mágico, where all we had to do was just show up on time. And her team was there to meet us there, and they walked us through the process, walked us right through the office, where we obtained our temporary visas. It was absolutely painless. So this would be a good time, actually, to bring Kim back on to let us know about the new requirements for visas in 2025 and to give us maybe a little insight into things that you should and shouldn't do when applying for your visas, maybe some do's and don'ts. So let's go to Kim's office right now and see what she has for us. Kim Bix, Gringo for Gringo, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Kim, thanks for coming on the show again.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for all your help that you gave us to finally get our temporary residency in Mexico.
You're welcome. You were a success story a year in the making.
Yeah, it took that long, but wow, it was simple. You made it really, really simple, and I really, really appreciate that.
Thank you.
The reason I want to talk to you today is because I want to maybe give people a little refresher, tell people about Gringo for Gringo, first of all, and then let's talk a little bit about the new requirements for this coming year.
Okay. Well, Gringo for Gringo, we're a team of 5 that all work really beautifully together to make sure that we get the procedures done for anyone who wants to get residency. Me personally, I will consult with somebody for as long as it takes, 1 year, 2 years, to get them to the goal of getting their visa in the States or whatever country they're from, and then to get them down here and get it finalized.
Yeah. Well, yeah. For us, it was a year-long process, and she's right. She's there for you. She was there to answer questions, which I truly appreciate. All right, so let's talk about new requirements because they change every year.
They do.
And they change because, well, a lot of it has to do with the um, living, well, what is it, the living wage?
Yeah, it's a minimum wage here. So you have to make a certain time, like for instance, temporary residency, they want you to make 300 days of their minimum wage. So how it can fluctuate is you take 300 times, I think their minimum wage is 279 pesos this year, and then you divide it by whatever exchange rate your country has. So for the United States, perhaps they had 20 to 21, which is significantly lower than if you were using the Canadian dollar.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So for them, it's a little bit higher, but for anybody in the U.S., it was right at the same or slightly lower, even though minimum wage went up by 12% this year.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, so this coming year, what are we talking about as far as your minimums for temporary and maybe your minimums for permanente?
For temporary, you can qualify either through your income or through your financial investments, liquid assets such as 401k, retirement accounts. For the income, it's right around $4,200 a month, and you're going to have to prove that by making that for at least 6 months.
Okay, all right.
The average for investments is right around $72,000, so you're going to have to prove that you've had that in your investments account for at least 1 year.
Okay. Now, when you talk about investments, they can be like a savings accounts. They can be, can they be 401ks?
Yeah, 401k. I think Canada calls theirs a little bit differently, but I mean, I think you guys use CDs, correct?
Right, we did. Yeah.
So there's many forms of that. I don't think Bitcoin is there yet, though. I don't think that's there.
Okay.
So anything else that's liquid.
All right. All right. And then permanente, what would that be?
Permanente, they're looking at about $7,200 a month, which
Okay.
is way up there. Or you're going to have about $292,000 in your 401k or IRA or savings, and you're going to have to prove that you've had that for at least a year.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, that's a big deal. Now, once you have the temporal, what happens after that? How do you get from where we are right now to permanente?
Permanente. So when they issue the visa at the consulate in whatever country you're from, it's always going to be for 1 year. That's how everybody starts. And then at the end of that first year, you can renew for 3 more years all at once. And once you conclude that 4 years, you automatically qualify to convert over to permanent residency. Now, once you get your visa and you're down here and you establish your residency, everything else is done from within Mexico. So you never have to go back to the consulate to prove anything again. Okay. Unless you let it lapse, then you must start over.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, that's good to know. All right. We'll talk about consulates. We use the Phoenix consulate. Are there consulates that you suggest people not go to?
Yes. I mean, I have heard horror stories about Seattle. I'm not sure what's going on there. Pre-COVID, they were one of the best. But now I only hear stories that they are going to find any reason that they can to deny you. I'm not sure why they're doing that. Maybe they're just really busy with their own citizens in that consulate, and maybe they don't feel like they have the time. But they come up with some reasons that no other consulate has ever seen. Sorry, I don't have the specifics on my mind right now, but there has been at least 10 or 15 people who reached out to me regarding that consulate. There is another, Raleigh, North Carolina, is another one that people have been having a problem with.
Huh.
So I don't have enough to say stay away from it yet, but I've heard a few stories out of there of them coming up with the last minute requirement that they didn't know about, and therefore they were denied.
All right. So what happens if you get denied? Can you go to another consulate? Can you try somewhere
Absolutely.
else?
Absolutely. I always tell them to try somewhere else. There's a few. There's Boise, there's Las Vegas,
Jason.
and there is Phoenix, that they will take anybody from within the country. States like Texas, Houston, Dallas, and such will only take them for their own region.
Mm-hmm.
And the West Coast is a lot like that. So having the option of going to some of the friendlier ones once you're denied. If you're denied locally, I always say try local first. I mean,
Right.
why travel if you don't have to?
Sure.
But if you're denied, then I usually say go to one of these 3 places. They're friendly. And as long as you have all your documents, you're going to get what you need.
Okay. Are there things that you would suggest people maybe when they're sitting in front of the person,
Mm-hmm.
and what they should maybe not say or maybe not do or maybe do?
Well, I had one recently that told them she wanted to work here. She had no rights to work here. And they go, so you're going to go down there and work without this? And so it was automatically accusatory. They denied her because they didn't want her. They wanted to make it clear that she had no rights to come down here and work, even though she intended to do it the right way, get a residency, get a work permit, but that part didn't get out. So, you really want to just have a plan of being able to support yourself without needing to work here, because that's one of the biggest things that immigration has is they don't want to see people working here illegally.
Right.
That's why they have the income requirements.
Interesting.
So I would stay away from that. But most of all, be kind and upbeat and remember they have all the power.
Yeah.
So I've heard of a few people going after them. It's like, but I make enough for permanent residency. They do not, as in general, I don't know of any consulate at this moment who will hand out permanent residency unless you are retired and drawing Social Security. You could have millions of dollars, but if you're not retired, they're going to give you temporary residency.
Got it.
So some people get upset and they get heated in that moment. And that does them no favors.
Right.
So you just need to be calm, accept what they're giving you, and be gracious.
Good advice.
In my opinion.
Well, that's good advice. It's not good to be confrontational. It never is, right?
No. Well, I like to say all roads lead to permanent. So if you have to start off with temporary, that's great. Because in 4 years, you're going to be permanent.
Okay. Very good. And then you'll be there to help us all along the way, right?
Yes, we will.
All right. That's what I like to hear. Gee, am I missing anything? Is there anything that is changed? No, there's a couple things that have changed. The
R&E program?
Yeah, the R&E program.
The regularization, or what people have been calling it for about the last year, the R&E program. Yeah, as of 2 days ago, when it was March 13th, they have suspended that nationwide.
Okay.
They have one requirement now is the people that qualify at this moment are people who arrived in 2022 and have never left Mexico. Those are 22 or before.
Okay.
Those are the only people that require for that qualify for this R&E program at this point. Okay. It was long overdue to stop. I mean, it was put in place for COVID, for people who really, really stuck here and were worried about their status because they couldn't get home, or a loved one didn't want them to travel home and bring anything with them. So it was a really, really great program for that purpose. But it was going to end, and it ended abruptly, about as abruptly as it started, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So we all knew it was coming. Some people still feel like there's a chance that they're going to bring it back under new criteria. I really don't. But it just remains to be seen. Right now, it's suspended. So don't come here and overstay.
Right.
Just don't do it right now.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
Great advice there. Tell people again how they can get a hold of Gringo for Gringo.
You can email us, which is one of my favorites because there's a record of our communication at gringoforgringo@gmail.com. We have 2 numbers. My WhatsApp number is an American number, so it's 360-910-5782. I love WhatsApp too, but when we're starting to communicate to get ready for your procedure down here, I just email is the only way.
Yeah.
Can only concentrate on one platform without leaving you behind. And we also have a local number you can call it, 322-363-1385.
Okay, and I'll have those in the show notes. You can find it at www.puertovallartravelshow.com. Kim Bix, thank you so much for all you did for us. Thanks for coming back on the show and for what you've done for a number of my listeners. I've had several of them say that you're the best, and I agree.
Oh, thank you.
And so I want to thank you again, and thanks for coming on the show again.
We appreciate it because word of mouth is how we stay alive.
Indeed.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Kim. Now, also, Kim set us up with some folks who also set up an appointment and even stood in line for us. So all we had to do was show up on time, and they ran us through the process of getting our Mexican tax ID number so we could open a Mexican bank account. And that was pretty cool. It was also very painless. It was great. Did you know that you can earn upwards of 10% interest at a Mexican bank account? Oh, yes, you can. So yes, I'd recommend Kim and her team in a heartbeat. Everything was simple on our end. Well, they did all the work. I have links and phone numbers in the show notes at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Next, you are going to meet an angel in real life. Her name is Christina Callahan, and Christina was actually introduced to me by my friend Stan Gebrecht. You know Stan from, wait a minute. Hold your tender children's ears for a minute. Masturbators, Sport Fishing, and Tackle over in Puerto Vallarta, if you remember that. I interviewed Stan years ago. Check out that interview if you haven't heard it already. I'll link it in the show notes. It's pretty funny. Well, Stan's always given me good ideas for guests, and this one, well, he hit the jackpot with this one. As I pointed out at the beginning of the show, Christina and her charity, Angels for Mexico, have brought literally millions of dollars worth of firefighting equipment to Puerto Vallarta and to Mexico from her native Canada. Now, during this interview, you're also going to be hearing from 2 firefighters. One is Jason Johnson from Red Deer, Canada, and the other is Mario Giovanni Hoya Garcia. He's a bombero from Puerto Vallarta. My wife and I took an Uber out to the firefighting training facility out near Desmocada. It's out on the way out to San Sebastian to watch them train together. So you're going to hear them. I inserted those 2 interviews into the one where I am interviewing Christina. So if you hear me starting to interview somebody in the middle of our interview with Christina, that's what that's all about. So let's go right now to a hotel lobby for this interview, to Hotel Cristal in Puerto Vallarta. Let's meet Christina Callahan, President and CEO of Angels for Mexico. Christina, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from, and what was your path that led you to Puerto Vallarta?
I am originally from Prince Edward Island, Canada, but I have lived in Calgary, Alberta, Canada for the last 40 years. And what brought me to Puerto Vallarta was I'd always wanted to bring my children here once I got single. And, and when I got off the plane, and it felt like home to me. And I think it's because I'm from an island, and I'm from an island that is very much the Canadian version of Mexico in terms of if you want something in a hurry, you're in the wrong place. So Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very tranquil. But nobody's in a rush to do anything. So yeah, it felt like home to me. It really did. I called it Port of My Heart right away.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I like that. I've never heard that one.
What?
All right.
Oh, come on.
I'll
I
take
should be
it.
doing T-shirts like Stan.
You should. Totally. All right. All right. So you basically are the CEO of Angels for Mexico.
I'm the founder and president, yes.
And so how did that start?
So I took my kids, so that was 2004 and 2005, I believe. 2 winters down here, just for like week visits. And I was always be very sad leaving. And the second trip, I met someone at the resort, and he just told me about like people up in the mountains that were freezing. And I was like, how are they freezing? I've been down here twice in January, February. It's, hotter than Hades. And he goes, no, it's the mountains. It's different. And he said, like if you could gather a few coats. And I thought, okay, careful what you say yes to in life.
Right.
Because it becomes a long. Anyway, long story short, I went back home. I put an email out to friends saying I was coming back down in June, and next thing I knew, a month later, there was like 40 people in my backyard packing up 80 like shipping boxes of winter clothing, which shocked the heck out of me, but
Right.
found a Christian trucking company that was willing to bring it down here. And then this friend called me and said, the fire chief of Vallarta would like to meet you. And why? This has nothing to do with him. And he said, he just wants to meet you. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, of course. Come on.
So I said, okay. So I went to the fire hall. His name was Alfredo. Yeah, Alfredo, very expressive eyes, like a lot of the Mexicans have. And he gave me a tour of it's still unfinished, Vallarta Fire Hall.
Yeah.
And he showed me, at that point, he had 44 firefighters and he had 1 firefighting coat. That was it.
Wow.
So these guys were walking into burning buildings in T-shirts for $5 a day. And he had heard, obviously, about these coats. And he looked at me and he's holding the 1 coat that had been donated by somebody in the U.S. And he was holding it and he looked at me and he said, "You were an angel sent to help save us." And I thought, am I allowed to swear on this? Oh, crap. Because, I have no history in firefighting. My dad wasn't a firefighter. I wasn't married to one. But I got back on the plane and I thought, there's something horribly wrong with this. That, we have a fender bender in Canada or the US, and there's, 3 fire trucks and 2 ambulances. And here, they had nothing.
Yeah. Wow. So you went looking for fire stuff, didn't you?
I may have. Fighting Irish, we're stubborn.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went back home and I didn't know anything about starting a foundation, but I thought if I'm really going to help these people, then I need to do it on a legal, bigger scale than what we did with the coats for the mountains.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in angels, obviously, by the name of the foundation. And I literally, when I needed something, whether it was a person, a lawyer, an accountant, it would manifest in front of me. In the beginning, God made it easy. I've been paying for that favor for a long time now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went through the steps of starting the foundation and to get legal in Canada with Canada Revenue. But I knew there was a lot I could do before that.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a letter from Alfredo, and this fire station for my neighborhood. I remember walking up to the doors of the fire hall.
That fateful day.
In my high heels. And just thinking, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, they're going to think I'm crazy. But I thought, okay, these people need help. And so I just rang the door on the fire hall. And, 10 minutes later, I had 8 of the firefighters standing there listening to me tell them how these guys had nothing. And they're like, they were so shocked because, they had been down here. And I said, well, like, did you go to the fire station? No. Well, anyway, I told them what I was trying to do. And they said, they gave me the phone number for a lady who is in charge of what's called stores in our fire departments. And that's basically, she's in charge of all the equipment, gear, everything being purchased and being surplused.
Oh, okay.
And so I called her and she answered. And I explained to her and she said, oh, wow, like your timing's great. We're just kind of putting a truck out to pasture. So we have a lot of stuff and, but I don't want to overwhelm you. And at that point, again, crazy. I was like, no, you can't overwhelm me. And about 2-3 days later, she called me and they literally said they had put out a tender for new PPE, like the protective gear that we see our firefighters wearing. And so there was probably 6 or 7 companies, they're trying to win that bid. So they all send, 10 or 15 samples. And basically, she said, we have 90
Wow.
sets of brand new gear still in the bags. And I good thing I was sitting there, I would have fallen over because they went from 1 coat to 90 sets of brand new. And then there was, she just started pulling all of this stuff that was ready to be surplused.
Wow.
And gave it to us.
Wow. And so how do you get this from Canada all the way down to Mexico? How's that done?
Well, like I say, the miracles were coming fast and furious in the beginning.
Yeah.
What happened to that, God?
Well, okay, in the beginning, how did that all happen?
So now I have all this stuff. And I mean, we hadn't even had a fundraiser yet, and like a silent auction, anything. And so that was the big question. So I just reached out to friends and somebody put me in touch with somebody, but I ended up with this lady with Air Transat. Didn't know her from Charlie, talked to her on the phone. She had heard about, through another friend what I was doing. And I'm talking we had a lot of stuff. And she sent that all down on the plane. It was under my butt so I sat on that plane because I wasn't moving far away from it.
Right.
For $500.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that should have cost me about $50,000.
Those coats must weigh, 50 pounds apiece?
Oh, and then there was, Jaws of Life. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah. I
Not
mean, there
just
was
coats.
No. There was Jaws of Life. There were some hoses. There was vehicle extrication. No, there was, they gave me a lot.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it should have probably cost. It was a miracle.
Right.
And I didn't know what iguana was. When I first, I thought iguana might be a cousin of the iguana. I didn't know.
Tell everybody what the iguana is. It's customs. It's customs, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Big scary, apparently, down here because, I got this stuff here and I thought, okay, well, let's go get it. And then they're all afraid of us. Oh, no. And, because I had no paperwork.
Oh, wow. Okay. So how did that go?
Well, I didn't know.
Oops.
I didn't
right? I don't know.
The blonde moment. It was a big blonde moment. And so by all rights, we should have not even gotten that out of the back of the airport. But again, miracles. Somebody talked to somebody who talked to somebody. And the next day we were at the airport and there was a convoy of trucks, guys bringing their own trucks. It was amazing.
Wow.
And then they opened up the back gate to customs at the airport and nobody goes through there. So there was one of the bomberos, one of the chiefs of civil protection, who's still my friend. He went in and he, hopped up. I remember, and he hopped up into the back of part of the shipment and he held up one of these brand new coats. This is where I usually get emotional.
I'm getting emotional.
Huh?
I'm getting emotional.
It is because he held it up and all these bomberos, like literally had tears in their eyes. I had tears in my eyes, but it was a miracle, and when we went to the fire hall and then we, because all these trucks, like they showed up friends of friends, like, because they just couldn't believe this was happening. And we got to the fire hall and it was like Christmas, I mean, it
Right.
wasn't Christmas, but it was like Christmas.
Believe it.
And these guys, I literally watched them grow in front of my eyes, in stature and, a feeling of being respected and cared for. And yeah, I still get goosebumps. I have them right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting them too.
Do you need a tissue?
Yeah. Wow. All right. So that was your first
Like I said, miracles.
miracle.
Yeah.
Wow. And how long ago was that?
That was 2007.
Okay. Wow. All right. So now we're almost 20 years in.
Yeah.
What other goodies have you brought to Puerto Vallarta?
Oh, wow. Well, a few fire trucks, ambulance. I mean, we continually, because in Canada and the US, it's what we call surplus, right? There's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
It just means it's had its shelf life.
We're talking with us today.
It's been my pleasure.
In our countries. And because of liability, they can't give it. So Calgary can't give it to a rural area, even though they could use it. They can't do it because if something was wrong with that piece of equipment or gear, they could turn around and sue Calgary.
Mhm.
And it's the same Canada and the US. So we've just, I mean, I've lost track on, if you added up millions of dollars, I mean, there's no like value in that they're donations.
Right.
But if the stuff had to be bought down here, I've completely lost
Millions of dollars worth of equipment.
over 100 million probably.
Wow. Amazing.
And then we do training. And that's why I'm here this trip.
Right. Okay. So when you talk about training, your basic firefighting training kind of training, or how to use the equipment that you bring, or both, or
Yeah. So because these firefighters don't get training, or if they do, it's very, very, very basic.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I have asked the angels never to let me get hurt down here.
It's not a good idea.
No. So what we do is I have a team right now, an amazing team of 6 training and leader firefighters from an area called Red Deer, which is north of Calgary.
Okay.
I call them the A-team because they are. And so they're arriving in 2 days. So this will be their second year for this group. But they have like so much commitment and empathy for what their brothers down here do not have. It's an eye-opener. Like, I've been doing it, and there's still sometimes when I go into a rural area and their, like, quote unquote fire station is a chicken coop.
Right. Wow.
So
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I'm still like, oh God. But after 17, 18 years, I'm a little more, I guess, prepared for it. But for them, like last year, this was like an eye opener.
Right.
But right away, they just said, where's the 20-year contract? Let me sign me up.
Really?
And we train. There's a family here in Puerto Vallarta called the Andalons. They have a company called A1 Fire and Safety. And I've known this family for most of that time because we did a small training thing way back in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a camp just outside of Vallarta, a training camp. So they have like a flashover tower, and they had stuff that we can use for actual training. They do it for some of the hotels and resorts around here. So they let us use that for free. They become very, very good friends.
Yeah.
They're very compassionate. They care. They care about what's going on in Vallarta and surrounding areas. So, so we've been training like about 100 bomberos from 7 different municipalities in this area.
Wow. So they all get together.
Yeah. So from like Compostela, Guayabitos, but so within 3 hours of Vallarta in each direction. So depending on the size of their area, that's how many people they get to bring.
Okay.
And and then for a week, it's from very basic to we do live fire. They learn how like fire moves and travels. They learn basic paramedic vehicle extrication, which is huge down here.
Yeah, I bet.
Huge. And a lot of people, go, oh, well, everything's made of stone or brick down here. They have a lot of fires. They still have a lot of fires.
Right.
So they do different modules each day, and each group runs through each module. And I pair one of the guys from Red Deer with one of my training leaders from down here, which is very cool.
Yeah.
Because they get to they form such a bond working together. It's amazing to watch and to see that develop.
Jason, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? And hey, you're a firefighter, obviously from Alberta, Canada, no?
That's right. I'm a firefighter paramedic from the integrated service in Red Deer, Alberta, Canada. I've been involved in the fire service about 25 years. I'm an assistant platoon chief with Red Deer, Alberta. And we got involved with coming down here last year. It's our second year back to come help out. We come down on our holiday time. It's a great experience. And today is day 3 of the 4 or 5 days we have planned. We do a lot of pre-planning before we come down. We try to think of what would be useful to pass on to the firefighters that are coming here to learn, and what can we share from them, and what can we learn from them. And it's a real awesome opportunity to make some friends, share some knowledge, spend some time together. And we try to break it up in the groups. The 6 of us that come down, we all know each other from work. We have quite a variety in our rank, but we have a lot of experience put together because our service it is a small enough service that we do all specialized training throughout our rank. So it makes it very flexible for us to come down and integrate in rope training, VX, fire behavior, extrication, you name it. If they ask, we're happy to do it. And also with Christine, she's been bringing down equipment for the bomberos down here, which has been wonderful. And we try to bring down some of the equipment we can to donate. And it gives us immense pride to come down here and help out. We really feel that from the local bomberos, and we're just so happy to be here.
All right, so you guys it's amazing what you guys do, and you obviously this is your vacation time, and you're basically kind of giving it up, but not really, right? I mean, there's a lot of benefits to this, aren't there?
Absolutely. So I'm not trying to follow my sword by any means, but it is great. I'm happy to come down on my vacation time. If you've been involved in the fire service, doing volunteer work, doing charity work, giving back to the community, I think that's universal through all countries and all firefighters that I've ever met. In my own community, in any other country and community, what I love about coming down and doing work with firefighters are essentially we're the same kind of people. The people that get into the fire service, the people that give back to their community, the people that want to help. I think that's universal around the world. And I found that anytime I've been involved with anybody in the fire service, and I just really enjoy being with those kind of people. And it makes me feel good to come down and realize it's the same. There's good people everywhere trying to do good things in their community. And the reward for me is coming down. I mean, getting away from winter. It's cold where I live this time of year, so I certainly can't complain about that. And it's very rewarding, and we're just honored to be here.
That's fantastic. Well, I think what you guys are doing is amazing. I want to thank you, for the Vallarta community for what you do. And is there anything I'm missing? Is it something that you wanted to add?
If if you have the availability to give back in your community, I absolutely support that. But if you give back in your community and you have extra that you can pass on down to fire departments that don't have, like, I am blessed with the amount of training and the amount of equipment that my department has given me at no cost to me. It's allowed me to become a highly trained firefighter and operate very safely. And as an officer, I always know my crews are protected with safe, high quality gear. Not everybody, and certainly not every country, has that benefit, and Mexico's no different. So if you have the ability to give extra that you think would be a benefit, I encourage you to look into it. Angels from Mexico, and help the people out here. If you're helping the bomberos, you're helping the people in Mexico.
Excellent. Got a great answer for talking with us today.
It's been my pleasure.
Mario, thanks for coming on the show.
No, thanks for inviting me.
Tell me about yourself. You're a pata salada?
Sí, mucho pata salada.
Excelente, excelente. Okay, so you're a bombero here in Puerto Vallarta, and I see that how many bomberos work in the city?
I think we have like an 84 firefighters right now, and with that we split 60 firefighters and then 20 lifeguards.
Okay, so that's how you work it out. So who gets to be lucky and work on the beach? Who's the lucky guys that get to do that?
Oh, who's the lucky guy? Not me, for sure. Well, I think the most experienced are in the beach, and those we have more contact with the people, and we have more enthusiasm and like more the waves and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right. And they're out there saving lives every day, probably too, right?
Yeah. Every day we have saving lives on the ground and on the sea.
Fantastic. Okay, so you guys are training today. You're here with a bunch of bomberos from all over the state, right?
Yeah. All over the Jalisco and nearby Mascota, and another ones our friends for Valle de Banderas and Nayarit.
So Nayarit's here too. So not just Jalisco, but we got Nayarit as well, huh?
Yeah. It's Mascota, Jalisco, and Nayarit.
All right. So what are you guys learning today? What's on the menu? What are you guys doing today?
Oh, okay. For today, we prepare for the guys a little explication, a little rappel, and little motion with tools, power tools, and a little how to handle a situation with a roll car in the street or in the highway.
Okay. Very interesting. All right. So, and I see everybody's got their all the equipment's here. All the trucks are here, and you've got a couple of ambulances. So, they're teaching little driving skills too, huh?
No, it seems might be like that, but no, we have here the area for if we have some injuries, guys, or our firefighters. But no.
So that's there just in case one of you guys get hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all right. Well, good planning, I must say. Very good planning. All right. How long have you been a firefighter?
I mean, now 15 years in my department.
What is, if somebody was coming to Puerto Vallarta and they wanted to help out the fire department, maybe, what would you say, use Angels for Mexico? What could they bring that maybe the firefighters would like? If you were, let's say, going to come by the station and drop something off, what would they like?
Okay. Well, we don't have a official site or something like that. But if you want to bring something, you can go to a corporation and leave it to the guys. It's okay. We have the community from US or Canadians or another part of the world, and they live like, hey guys, I bring you some food or some kind of T-shirt. It's a gift from you. Oh, come on, yeah, we take it.
Excellent. All right. Well, very good. I'll remember that. And if you guys are firefighters or something like that, in the States or in Canada, like bring them a shirt, bring them well, I got one I could, leave here too. Is there anything that I forgot? Is there something that you wanted to add?
No, if you're here in Vallarta, enjoy the view, enjoy the beaches, the waves at the restaurant. We have a lot of good food, and as always, take care of yourself and have a great day.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mario. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
No, thank you for the interview.
And then on the last day, what the guys do, they'll put together like a scenario or a few scenarios that utilize all of the different skills. So it might be, okay, there's a house fire and, or there's been a car accident and victim number 1 is still in there, victim number 2, and what do you do?
Yeah, right.
So.
Well, excellent. Well, okay, so this is for like how long? About a week, say about it?
The training is a week, yeah.
That's amazing. Well, all the stuff that you do, obviously, the money isn't coming out of your pocket, right? I mean,
it was in the beginning.
How do you? I bet it was. I know how that feeling goes. But how do you fund how do you guys get your funds? How do you do that?
So in the beginning, we're doing fundraisers, which are a lot of work to raise a little bit of money. And now we have relationships with some other projects that are being done in the Vallarta area, Punta de Mita. They're Canadians that have other projects, and because I'm a registered charity, we kind of have a partnership with them and kind of get some funding for doing their tax stuff, issuing their tax receipts.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like this evening, I'm speaking at Shangri-La condominiums to a group. Well, the ladies are from Red Deer, actually. They read an article when I got 300 SCBAs donated last summer from an oil and gas supply.
What's an SCBA?
Supply. Oh, sorry. Self-contained breathing apparatus.
There we go. There we go. Thank you.
It's the big tank with the mask that goes over their face that is a game changer for them.
Yeah.
And that's the largest one we've ever had. It's amazing. Like, it is a game changer.
That's a lot of them, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Like, this shipment that's coming down is the biggest one we've ever had. So it keeps growing. It's beyond anything that I imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we do need funding because like each project, whether it's getting the container down here, or whether it's, bringing the guys from Red Deer down here, I was like, we pay for their flights and their hotels because they're giving of their time, their holiday time. And, the training itself, like feeding the bomberos, watering the bomberos.
Yeah.
All of that doesn't come cheap.
Yeah.
Each time I come down, because Vallarta right now, and this is what I'll tell these people who live here 6 months a year tonight, is, and people get shocked, just like Stan. He didn't know when I first met him. He's like, what? Like right now, Vallarta, for a city that's serving about 1 million people, and, the area that they have to cover, people don't understand. It's not this main street out here. It goes way up into the hills.
Yes,
it goes, past Ixtapa. They have to support. They have 2 fire trucks right now. And the other 8 are in what we call the graveyard. And basically what that is they're at the government's mechanic yard. But they'll sit there until we come down and I pay to get them fixed because the government won't do it.
Right.
That's why it's called a graveyard.
Uh-huh.
So,
but that's amazing, though. That's
scary.
It is scary, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And ambulances, same. So, you get in a car wreck and, or whatever. I hope no one does, but
that's a long wait.
As Stan once said, you better hope there's like a burrow with somebody with paramedic training coming close by because, the reality is it's emergency services down here is frightening. Unless you're, in one of the gated areas and, like Nuevo will have their own. But if you're in Vallarta proper or anywhere outside of that, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking with Jimmy Pluff over at Vallarta Cares, told me about the whole same situation. It was, very, very few. I mean, if you're out on the road and there's a situation, you're going to wait. You're going to wait a long, long time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember I was up in Muskota last trip or one of the last few trips, I can't remember. And one of the bomberos, he pulls out his phone. We're at breakfast and he's showing me this video. And I'm watching this and I thought, this must be a joke, right? But it wasn't a joke. And so it was on one of the roads to Muskota, which those things are treacherous.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful
Been on
place.
those. Oh, yeah.
I love Muskota, but those roads are treacherous. So they get a lot of cars that go off the embankment. And so there was, this footage of this video. And basically I look and you can see there's a motorcycle down. And then there's just a civilian, a pedestrian that came upon and he's carrying another person's leg to the back of his truck to put him and the victim in to get him to the ambulance because they know there's no ambulance coming.
Nope.
I mean, he was literally carrying, and I thought, okay, am I being punked? Is this
right? Yeah. What is that?
It's very real,
and it's like, oh my God, right?
Yeah, yeah. So,
well, we were talking about
funding,
how you get your money.
Okay. So so this group that I'm speaking to tonight, and I do it, when I'm up in La Pinita or anybody who will get a group together and sit still for 20 minutes or a Stan knows it's a mistake. You should see me and run. I will absolutely ask you for help because it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with these guys, and they deserve the support, they deserve the help, they deserve the respect. So tonight, I will have 2 of the subdirectors from Vallarta with me and a couple of the bomberos. And it's easier to get them to open their wallets after they hear the reality of what their safety is when they're here. Or, if they're grandparents and you bring your children and your grandchildren and, I mean, that's a reality. That's a reality check.
Yeah.
So, you're investing in these guys, but you're investing in the safety of you and your families. So, people they just don't know.
No. And when they know, then they go, what the?
Yeah.
Let's go. Right.
Yeah. And they do. And then they do want to get involved. And I mean, it's, coming to the end of the season here for the snowbirds. But, my goal each time is, to find a leader in the group here or a couple of leaders and, connect them with a couple of the subdirectors in Vallarta or Bahia Banderas. And, so when they return, keep doing things.
Yeah.
Just because Christina gets on a plane doesn't mean that everything comes to a halt. It shouldn't. That's what I'm trying to accomplish is you guys learn how to work together. You're all living down here for 6 months out of the year. So, the next time you go to Costco even, like throw some extra bleach or, toilet paper or, soap or whatever and drop it off at the fire station. Like it does, you don't have to drop off a check for $1 million.
Right.
We would be happy to accept that. But, or do little fundraisers every couple of months, educate people. You're living here.
Where's the fire station here?
Where is the fire station?
Yeah.
The main station? Okay, so if you're on the main road, and you're heading to the Malecon and you get to the Sheraton Bougainvilleas.
Yeah.
Don't ask me street names down here.
No, that's okay.
Bang a left
Mm-hmm.
and go straight down from that street from the Sheraton and about 4 blocks on your left-hand side. It's right there.
All right.
And there's always bomberos there, and they'd be happy to take anything.
Excellent. Now, bomberos are also like lifeguards, right?
Yes. Yes.
They pull double duty, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, for the most part, obviously, for obvious reasons, the bomberos that have more training are put on the lifeguard shift.
Interesting. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Or does it?
Well, I'm not going to criticize.
Okay.
But
Well, we won't go there then. How do people get a hold of you? You have a website there for Angels for Mexico?
yeah, so the website is just www.angelsformexico.com. My email address is there. I think my phone number is there. I'm pretty accessible,
Okay. But
especially if you're going to give us stuff.
yeah, exactly. All right. Also, if you are maybe a condo owner, or you got a big HOA, and maybe you want to get together a whole group of your people and maybe have a talk. You do that for them too?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you reach out and contact me, I'll let you know the next time. I'm here this trip for about a month. I just got here yesterday. So yeah, if there's any groups that want to do something while I'm here, yeah,
very good.
hands
Okay.
down.
Yeah,
I will cut out personal time and.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of little organizations and groups. I mean, there's people that play bridge. There's people that do all kinds of stuff in Vallarta. And I think, maybe. Well, have you visited the local Rotary Club here?
I have spoken at quite a few Rotary clubs over the years. I have lost contact with the person that was.
Never mind. I'll hook you up with the local Rotary Club. How's that?
All right.
Okay.
You just get me my speaking.
I'll get
calendar,
you going. I'll get you
speaking
going.
calendar, and I'll show up.
Right. All right. So let's go away from Angels for Mexico just for a little bit. And let's talk about
That'd be nice.
What you like to do when you come to Puerto Vallarta. Let's talk about food, because everybody wants to know what your favorite places to eat are. So
my favorite places to eat?
Yeah.
Well, I'm probably not your best tourist guide that way, because I like the street tacos that I get with my bomberos.
Oh, really?
About 10 pesos.
Where do they take you? You have a favorite one?
Oh, God. There's one there's one really close to the fire station, a couple of blocks. But yeah, I love.
You just go for the street food.
Yeah, I'm not the 5-star girl when I'm down.
Really? Oh, cheap date, everybody.
Cheap date, and yeah. Well, we're on a budget.
Yeah. Oh, understood.
Anyone wants to take me out for 5-star?
Yeah.
Again.
Ding.
But I mean, I love seafood. I'm from an island, so I love seafood. Camarons, give them to me cooked anyway. I'll eat them. Frijoles, stay away from me with them. All my bomberos know. Christina, no gusta frijoles.
No frijoles for you.
No frijoles for me. I've had their goat, which is actually quite tasty. Tastes like chicken. It really
what doesn't?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. You've been around different places. You've been to Mascota. You've been probably all around.
Yep.
What's your favorite place other than Vallarta to go to?
Okay, I hope all of them aren't listening to this, because I'm going to get in trouble. No, I won't, because they all know it. Hands down, Mascota.
Really?
I love it.
Yeah.
There's just something. I'm spiritual, not religious. I'm spiritual. And there is a church there, an iglesia, that was never finished, and it was never meant to be finished. And it's the courtyard has the bougainvilleas and the and I was taken there just after I first started the foundation, and there is just a very spiritual energy, and which has brought me to tears a couple of times. Just it's that for me that powerful. So every time that I go to Mascota, and I go usually almost every trip, they have something, some type of little fiesta or something at the iglesia, because they know that's special to my heart.
Oh, wow.
And just the town itself, and there's something. But yeah, now hands down, Mascota. I can't get in trouble for that one. All the bomberos know.
No, you can't. And yeah, that Templo Inconcluso is absolutely stunning. It's like huge, soaring walls and arches and
Yeah.
amazing.
And I mean, it was built, like, if you look at those walls, like some of the stones are like the size of a quarter. And then, and that was like all hand built.
Yeah.
And it was never meant to be finished. That's like, it's just open.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm with you.
That's my happy place.
Like
Cool.
we're big on mascota too.
We just need to get Stan out of Vallarta.
Yeah.
I got him to Wyobitos.
Did you?
Yes.
All right. Not good. Good. Very good. Good for you.
Yeah.
If you had a word of advice for someone coming to Puerto Vallarta for the first time, besides bringing something special to the Bomberos, what would that be? What would that word of advice be for the first time?
Don't get in an accident.
You're the first person to say that. In over 200 interviews, you're the first person to say that.
Well, after 18 years of doing this, I know I don't want it to happen to me, and I'm usually driving in the ambulance as my taxi.
Okay, all right, excellent.
Yay for me for being original.
Yes, you win.
Is there a standard answer?
No. Would you, if you had a word of advice for somebody as far as like safety or something like that in Vallarta, what would you say?
Don't get in an accident.
Again.
Stay safe.
Stop
Don't get in an accident.
Yeah. Don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt yourself. All right.
Be careful.
Yeah. Be really careful. Exactly. Do you drink?
Do I drink? Not enough.
Okay. Favorite margarita in Puerto Vallarta? You got one?
No. I'm a Vino Tinto girl.
Oh, you do. You're one of those.
Yeah. Give me a nice Malbec or Merlot or Cab Sav.
Really? Okay.
I'm a happy camper.
All right. Okay. You're very difficult. you drink wine and eat tacos.
I told you I'm not 5-star.
I know. I'm loving this. All right, well, let's get back one more time.
Okay.
Angels for Mexico. Give us the website again.
www.angelsformexico.com.
Very, very good.
I should give a shout out to this person because he just manifested and he lives in the U.S. And if he hears this podcast and I don't mention, I may lose a very, very strong connection. So he's a retired firefighter in Ohio. His name is Walter, and now he's a training officer down there. Does a lot of training, and he reached out to me about, a month and a half ago, I guess. Sent me an email, and he's been helping a lot of third world countries, just like one man mission show, whatever.
Yeah.
But he gets a ton of, I haven't told you this, Dan, he gets a ton of like gear, equipment, and vehicles, like a ton. So he's done a little help with Cabo. He sent them like a couple of trucks and an ambulance, like gear and equipment. And he literally reached out to me, and then I called him, and so he is now, I told him the situation here, and he, likes what we're doing. Obviously, he's doing the same thing, just by himself. He's not a registered charity.
Yeah.
So he is already committed to doing 1 40-foot container a year plus vehicles. So he'll collect and we'll pay to transport and, distribute. But yeah, he was like another miracle. Because, obviously he's closer than we are in Canada. Shipping will be a little, and he just, he keeps sending me videos of all this stuff that he's getting from all these departments.
Wow.
And it's incredible. So we have a new friend in Walt. So if you're listening, thank you, Walt.
There you go, Walt. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
You keep sending that equipment porn. Let's keep looking at it, but bring it down, right? Oh, that's amazing what you're doing. Anything else? Anything else you wanted to add before we say goodbye today?
No, I'm grateful that you had interest and wanted to talk to me and let me tell our story and put the word out there that these guys need help, and open up your open up your pocketbooks because they deserve the support. And if you are down here, invest in your safety.
Exactly. I was going to say, one day you might need their help, and
Yep.
it might be because of you, right?
Exactly.
Christina, thanks for coming on the show again. Thanks for
Thank you so
introducing me and my and all of my listeners to your Angels for Mexico.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Christina. Wow. When the fire chief says that you're an angel sent from God, he means business, doesn't he? I have pictures of those firefighting exercises in the show notes, and also on the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show Facebook page as well. You go take a look for them there. Now, hey, maybe you know of an organization that might want to hear Christina give her pitch, or maybe you have an in to your local fire station. Hint, hint. So get in touch with her if you like, or don't forget, you can go visit them at the fire station and bring them something fun. So bring them something that they need, okay? I have all the information, website, phone numbers, all that stuff in the show notes. And once again, thanks to those two firefighters, Jason Johnson from Red Deer, Canada, and Mario Giovanni Hoya Garcia, the bombero from Puerto Vallarta, for talking with me as well. It's really nice to have you on the show. Okay, well, this has been a long and informational episode. I hope you're still with us, but that should do it for this week. Next week, stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant excursion ideas, and more. Until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, well, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us your message. And remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com, that's JR's website, and reserve your tour through him right from his website. Remember, this is a value-for-value proposition. His experience and on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying thank you. Thank you, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you were going to use someone else. So do it, really. And when you do take one of these tours, email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending off a message. And don't forget, he's got his maps, his DIY tours, and I have links to all of those in the show notes. Hey, once again, if you like this podcast, please take the time and subscribe, and follow or share with a lover of Puerto Vallarta, or give me a good review wherever you happen to be listening to the show. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Remember, I made it easy for you to do that with each episode that I create. But if you haven't been to my website, you really need to go there. Have a look. I have links to the places that we talk about, interesting pictures and more right there in the show notes, in the blog posts, and for each episode. So check them out for sure if you haven't already. All right? All right. Thank you to Kim Bix for Gringo for coming back on the show to review the newest requirements to get you your Mexican visas, both permanente or temporal. Hey, thanks again to all of you from your team also that helped me and Debbie to the finish line. I have all the contact information again, Gringo for Gringo, in those show notes. Thanks to Christina Callahan from Angels for Mexico. Thanks for all you do for the Puerto Vallarta community by giving your valuable time up, helping Puerto Vallarta bomberos, the local firefighters as well, right there in the area. You are a real angel on earth. I have all of Christina's information about her organization, Angels for Mexico, in the show notes as well. I have videos and more of the firefighters in action, actually, learning new rescue and firefighting techniques. All those photos of all of our friends there, Mario and Jason, they're all in the show notes as well. You can find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Thank you, Jimmy Pluff, for coming on and talking to us about the fire down in Mito and telling us what we can all do. We'll be looking for more information on that as time progresses. And hey, thanks to all of you for listening all the way through on this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler signing off with a wish for you all to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
De Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar. Solo camino, eterno por la playa, me encuentro junto al río, cuando todo está en calma, pronto cae la noche, brillas Puerto Vallarta, samba de Puerto Vallarta.